Welcome to the Orlando Sentinel's editorial board interview with candidates in the Republican primary for Florida Senate, District 25, an Orange Osceola seat being vacated by Victor Torres, who is term limited. Today, we'll be talking to Jon Arguello, a member of the Osceola County School Board, and Jose Martinez, who owns a network of mobile phone stores. The winner of this race will face the winner of the Democratic primary in November. And I'm going to jump right in with the very first question, which has to do with something else that's going to be on the ballot in November. If Florida voters authorize legal recreational marijuana and ratify an amendment that protects abortion and reproductive rights, what should the legislature's response be, understanding that it is likely to be controlled by a Republican majority? And I'll start with Mr. Martinez.
Yes. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for the opportunity to addressing the viewers and the voters. And again, thank you, Jon, also for participating, right, as well. So as for your question, I'm a man of faith. I'm a Christian man, and I will always stand to my values. So when it comes to the medical marijuana, if it goes through, I do not support that at a personal level, not for recreational. Medical, it can be arguable, right? That's more with the doctor conversations and whatnot, but definitely not. I don't support that. As for the more trick question, which is, I think you said reproductive right. Is that correct? Part of the Amendment 4 coming in. Again, I'm more into the Ronald Reagan type of person, right? I'm a pro-life. It's a conservative man, conservative values, but also respect. And the big conversation is just like Ronald Reagan back then. It's a rape, it's an incest, or the life of the mother. That's kind of what I stand there. Anything else past that, definitely I do not support. So, and I will stand to my belief today, to the day I die. But again, if as a Republican, we believe in accountability. I am accountable for what I do and for all the people do. But when it comes to rape, incest, we gotta say there's no accountability for the victim itself. But again, I'm a pro-life, and I will always stand by the life of the newborn, right? And I think we can work about many different programs that we can do to support the mother and the baby, but there is a life there, and I will always support that. Again, as a man of faith, as a man of principle, I will stand for that life at whatever cost, for sure. But again, as a Ronald Reagan, those three issues definitely concerns to me.
Thank you very much. Mr. Arguello, same question.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, Jay, Julie, Jose. I appreciate the opportunity to address the voters through your platform. So I'm also a man of faith and a man with a family. I have 5 kids, and it's my greatest passion in this world. But I understand that as a public servant, you raise your hand, you put your hand on the Bible, and you swear an oath. And that oath is to protect the Constitution. And if the voters of Florida decide one way or another on a specific law, then it's our jobs to respect that, or to bring about the will of the voters in the community, not to contradict what they say. And I think a lot of the times we get confused about who we serve. I have absolutely zero confusion about who I serve. I do not serve Jon Arguello. I serve my community, 25, which is Osceola County and parts of Orange County. And that's what my interest is in doing. Am I in support of Amendment 4? Absolutely not. Am I a proponent of Amendment 3? Absolutely not. However, I do respect the voters as long as we're being transparent and honest about what the laws say, what these amendments say. Then I think it's up to them to decide, and they have that opportunity through these types of things. I do think that there's a level of dishonesty in the way that these bills were written, and that is my concern. But in terms of being confused about who I serve, I know that I'm not there to serve my own will. I'm there to serve the will of the people. So, thank you.
Wanted to jump over to health insurance. 11% of Floridians lack health insurance, which is well above the national average. And a lot of that seems to be due to Florida being one of the the few states that refuse to expand Medicaid. Do you think it's time for Republicans to reconsider their opposition to Medicaid expansion? And if not, what help can lawmakers offer Floridians who make too much for Medicaid but are shut out of the healthcare marketplace? And Mr. Arguello, we'll start with you.
Well, it's very clear to me that our healthcare industry and our healthcare environment is out of control and out of sync with the American people, right? Is a government option the number one way to go? I receive care from the government. I get VA care. And for me, it's a disaster. I've had pins falling out of my body that's taken me 18 months to get removed. The last thing I want in my healthcare decision-making is a government bureaucracy the size of the VA. So I'm not a big fan. I think that what we need to do is prioritize the American people, not the pharmaceutical industry, not the giant multinational corporations that are basically putting the burden of their profit margins and their yachts on the backs of the healthcare participants. And that's exactly what we have right now. We have people getting extremely gigantic in size, but the level of care is not getting any better. So we need to really, there's a tremendous amount of conflict of interest when it comes to healthcare, right? Where doctors benefit from medication that they're prescribing, corporations benefit from bad results on testing, and this just can't be the way. Our government, its main purpose is to protect the American people, and it's gone away from that. And now we've through the lobbying industry and through many other ways, it's just become another piece of facilitating profit making organizations instead of the actual intent, which is to keep Americans healthy. So there's deeper problems than a way for government to pay for healthcare. What we need to do is create an environment where Americans can choose what they want and they can maximize their own decisions with purchasing power. And that doesn't come by the system that we have today. And so to expand the system, I'm not a fan of it.
Thank you. But let me go back a little bit to the previous questions. I want to clarify something. I think when the Supreme Court said he's going to go back to the state, he's go back to the state. So I was exposing my own personal value. Now that I will not respect the will of the voters, I will always abide by it. We don't live in a dictatorship, but this is a democracy or a republic, right? So I will always abide by the decision, whether I like it or not. I'm also here to serve the people, not myself, for that. But going back to this question, listen, what I support, again, is an open market. I think we need to allow more the private industry, the private sector to come in and compete here more in Florida. Like I am a product of, and I say a product, I suffer a lot trying to offer my own employee, over 400 of that nationwide, the Obamacare. And they were forcing my hand. Hey, you got to pay this portion and your employee have to pay this portion. And they were forcing me saying, hey, 30% of your employee have to participate. For the program that were available, the employee didn't like him at all. I didn't like him myself, but we were both paying money into something that nobody was using. So yes, the pharmaceutical industry is taking a big chunk of money out of something that we've been forced to do, but not really using. So I'm going to, let's bring more company in here. Yeah, but we don't want to nationalize, right, the health system and whatnot, but there's a lot of companies that can come in, provide great services without forcing our hand. Listen, I have a penalty of over almost $1 million because I didn't submit the right paperwork that qualified me to having that 30% threshold between what the employee pay and what I pay. So I'm fighting the state, right, on something that the employees are not using. So I'm into it. Let's bring more competition, but let's bring a good quality insurance. And I'm not sure that expanding Medicaid will be it. That said, I don't want to leave the people that are not having insurance because they are the middle class, which, by the way, are the ones that are being hurt the most. Not the one that can get Obamacare, not the one that can pay the premium insurance, but right in the middle, those people there, they are suffering because they have no insurance. So we need to bring competition to allow this company to give us, the middle class, the option of not paying too much and not necessarily needing the government to take care of my health and my family. Sorry for the time.
Okay, we're going to switch to an election question. And we'll start with Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
In your opinion, are Florida elections trustworthy and secure? And do you believe the state should scale back mail voting and early voting, requiring more voters to cast ballots on election day?
Listen, I wish, and I think most of the country at an international level is same-day voting. That would be perfect, right? Like that's as a matter of fact, there's countries that have these mandatory voting, right? Like you have to go and vote. I'm not into that, but yes, I think the more people can vote on election day, is that participation is key. And I believe that as if he's secure in Florida, I think we have a good governor that is doing a great job trying to make sure that our elections are the will of the people, right? That the people that are voting are the people that are casting the vote, not no goals or anything like that. So yes, I believe in the election here in Florida. Would I like more same-day voting? Absolutely yes. As for the mail-in ballot, I think we did something right, which is, hey, let's start from scratch. Let's making sure that everybody that really can vote will vote. So yes, I do believe in what we're doing here in Florida. Do we need to keep a watching eye? Yes, we need to be careful. Absolutely. We don't want to not incentivize people to not go and vote. We want to incentivize them to go and vote, but the right way, correct? And then we can talk about voters ID or with whether we can do it with the driver license and whatnot. But yes, I believe in Florida in what we're doing. Can we do better? Absolutely. And I think the governor is taking the right decision, the right action, even at the local level to make sure that everybody that can vote will vote. But last but not least, my point is, are we telling people to go and vote in the primary? Look at the people. How many people come and vote on the actual primary? Almost none. I think if we can put more money into letting people inform people that primaries are important, right? Like Joe and I, we're in a primary. How many people out there know about it? Almost nobody. So I think we can do a better job by informing people and not waiting just for November. I hear my time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Arguello, same question. Are Florida elections trustworthy? And would you scale back early voting and mail balloting to push people more to same-day voting?
I think that polls that have been published have shown that people do not trust our elections today. So do I know more than the collective intelligence of our entire community? No. We have a supervisor of elections in Osceola County who violated state law twice during the last 2 election cycles. She printed the party of the recipient of a ballot on the outside of an envelope, which is against Florida law. I've been fighting with Scott Maxwell, your columnist, over this on Twitter because like he loved to report on conservatives and how bad conservatives are and, you know, digging up everything on conservatives. But here we have a supervisor of elections who violated state law and nobody's making a big deal about it. I mean, I used to be a reporter. That would never escape me as a voter, as a former journalist. It would never escape me that we have a supervisor of elections who's violating state law. And it's not a big deal to anybody. Nobody cares. I wouldn't trust her to watch my dog, much less to have elections. So are they secure? I don't know. Just like none of the 4 other people on this call know for sure that they are secure. They were saying that our voting machines could not connect to the internet, and then we find out that they have SIM cards. So these are all issues. What I care about is that we have systems in place that are honest and transparent with the community, with the American citizen. As far as I know, when I asked for the Orlando Sentinel's opinion, I want it to be the truth. I want it to be valid. When I talk to the supervisor elections, I want it to be true. I want it to be valid. I want to be able to trust the things that our leaders say. Do I know that I can do that today? No, I don't know that for sure. I would love to. I fought for the country. I spilled blood for this country. I want to know for sure that my elections are safe. Can I say that 100%? Is that something that I would bet my on or my career on, or even the $1 that I have in my pocket on? Absolutely not.
Okay, we're going to stick with you for the next question, Mr. Arguello. And it is, so over the past several years, Florida has seen multiple controversies along the lines of what many describe as culture wars. Lawmaking centered on transgender individuals, the removal of books from public schools, and prohibiting discussion of gender identity and sexual orientation in most grades. Do you think these debates have been a productive use of legislative time?
So anything that arises from the community is worth the legislators' time. There's no concern that the American people send to their legislators that is not worth their time. That's their job. Their job is to be a community servant. Their job is to wash feet. Their job is not to just go to Tallahassee and have parties and end up in hotel rooms full of drugs and prostitutes the next day, like we saw one of our former governors candidates. That's not the job. The job is to serve the American family. That's the job of the people. And so me as a school board member, I wasn't only aware of it, I wasn't only a witness to it, I was a participant in that culture war. And here's why, because I had parents, Democrats, who had gay family members come to me and tell me that their children were being groomed in schools. And our district, our school district, denied it. And when that parent tried to disenroll their child, that school district, the same school district of which I'm a school board member, denied them and called DCF on that family. When things like that are happening, absolutely right, it's worth the conversation of our legislators. In fact, the entire reason that I'm running for state office right now for the state Senate in District 25 is because I held a meeting with 100 families in Osceola County when parents had concerns about what was going on in our schools, and our state representative at that time told those families that he was best friends with the superintendent's husband, and therefore he could not do anything about the problem. When he said that in public, in front of all those people, when you feel so entitled to a position that you can say that to the American people, then people like me who don't take that kind of answer lightly, they're going to rise up and they're going to participate. And I'm happy. I'm very proud of my record on the school board, where I prevented the school district of Osceola County from showing kids books that had pictures of sex that would be pornography if it had been a live picture, and instructions on how to have sex with adults, with children. Those books were in our libraries. If you look up genderqueer, look up what's in there, I think that you'll realize that was a worthy discussion.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Martinez, same question.
Yes, I'm running to parental choice in education. I think it's definitely worth the conversation. That's definitely not a waste of time. I think here in Florida, we still hold some traditions, right? Where family come first, where parents can make the right decision for their kids. And any books I had to talk about this type of subject, right? The queer book and whatnot, like John mentioned there, I would absolutely oppose to it. Like I said, just being too vocal or too descriptive in book that doesn't belong to the school, right? I'm not saying, hey, go to a different library and bookstore and buy it yourself as an adult, but bringing it to the school, absolutely not. I'm more into parental choices in education. So parents should be more involved into what are we teaching our kids. And if they do not agree, like they do in the school board, they should go there, express their voice. And if they're not heard enough, absolutely come to Tallahassee. We should definitely tackle that. I'm more into the nucleus of the family. I can understand that they're going to go to school to understand about physics, chemistry, right? Science, math. Those have to be the core focus. And again, we're not inventing this. Go to Asia, and I keep mentioning this. Why do you think they teach kids in Asia? You think they're talking about sex and educations and genders and pronouns? They're talking about chemistry, physics, and those are the next generations. And as American, we always bring number one, and we want to stay number one. But those are the subjects that we need to be teaching at the school level. So absolutely right, we should bring that to Tallahassee. Definitely not a waste of time. And I would tell you, my number one priority, making sure that what we teach at the school is at a comparative level. So when we go to compete with Asia and Europe, we will come number one. So let's focus on education. Let's focus on our kids and putting our family together. And yes, parents have the number one right to choose first before us, our teachers and whatnot, choose for them. Absolutely. We have to keep with the parents, and we have to stay on focus on education, which is what the next generation needs to make sure we succeed as a nation. If you want to stay number one, which I'm pretty happy and excited that we will overcome all these obstacles.
Thank you very much. I'm going to follow up on the education theme.
Mhm.
One of the things that's been accelerating rapidly over the past few years in Florida is the use of publicly funded vouchers that allow students to transfer to private schools to be homeschooled, in some cases due to special needs, and in other cases just because their parents want to take them out of public schools. In the coming year, more than 400,000 students will be receiving some form of voucher. Do you think Florida does enough to ensure that those schools accepting vouchers and those students being taught at home are getting the high quality education that is guaranteed to them in the Constitution, the state Constitution. Let's start with Mr. Martinez.
All right. What I would say on that subject is that the tax money should follow the student, not the other way around. So when you get these vouchers, right, you're not just getting it; they're not sending it to your house. You are asking for it. Then the question arises: is why am I asking for that voucher? Maybe the education of that public school is not good enough. And yes, we can have a conversation into how can we better our public education. In the meantime, you know who should not be paying the price is the kids. So again, I'm into the parental right to choose for our student. And if they want to take the voucher to a private school or semi-private school and say, hey, I want to bring my kids there, I bet, yes, can they do a better, can we get some mechanism to make sure that the quality of education of that private school is good? The number one filter is the parents itself. If they're taking their kids there, there's something going on there that they want in there. Whether it's they want to keep them away with all these craziness going on with sex and genders and whatnot, which is a key item for most Floridian. They want to take it to private school and make sure they focus their education in science and math. Absolutely, I will support that. So yes, as a parent myself, I have kids on both systems. I have kids in private school. Definitely, thanks for that. I don't need the voucher, but I'm there. And many of my kids' friends has vouchers. And the reason why they're going to that school is because they understand that education is better than private school, public school. That said, we need to support a public school by making sure that they actually doing the right type of educations. I want to end up with this. People decide where they want to bring to school. The money should follow the student, not the other way around. And we should do a better job at making our public education better, so we don't have to provide this voucher to the parents to take the kids anywhere else. So I believe we can have a better quality control on the private sector, but the mom and dad are taking the kids there is for a reason, and it's because something is working that is not working at the public school. So let's focus our attention on making our public school better, because I'm a product of the public school. I went to Osceola High School and look where I am now. Thank you.
Mr. Arguello, same question.
Yeah, so firstly, I'm diametrically opposed to the idea that some bureaucrat in some place that's not inside the home of the parent is better at choosing the educational opportunities for their own children. I as a public school board member, I've been on the Catholic school board as well, Catholic for the Diocese of Orlando. I've witnessed both systems, and this isn't about whether one system is better than the other. There's a variety of different options. There's someone who's running for school board right now whose son was sexually abused in one of our schools. So are we going to force him to go send his child to public school as opposed to take a voucher? In the end, the constitutional mandate lies with the school districts to provide a quality education. And when they fail at doing that, should we not provide the parents with an option to go seek education elsewhere and take their tax money with them? I think that that's completely just. I think that it's a good idea. I spoke before the Florida Senate 2 years ago with HB1, the expansion of that. And I spoke in favor of it as a school board member because that's how much I believed in it. Not just because I participated in it, but also because I've seen the impacts that it's had on our families, on communities of color. It's mostly Hispanics and Black families that benefit from these programs. And so what are we going to do? Who I'd like to see the person who wants to take a voucher away from a Black family trying to get their child into a better educational environment and then talk about how social justice they are. It's just, it's a big facade. And the problem is that the current educational model is broken. It's a 200-year-old model. I wrote about this in your newspaper with a column of my own, talking about how the leadership was broken and the model was broken. It's still the same. As we have a much better superintendent today than we did then, but the model itself, it's like trying to put a turbo on Model T. Not everything is going to make something faster. Sometimes you have to rebuild and use the lessons that you've learned. In China, they're educating students with bamboo shoots. Here in the United States, we're spending $20,000 students and we can't get them above 50% proficiency. There's a problem at hand and we need to resolve it.
Thank you. You seem to be frozen, so okay, there we go. Okay. Now this is probably the the toughest question we're going to ask. And we know that our legislators have been banging away at this one for decades. Florida residents pay more and in many cases get less than other Americans from their property insurance policies. What's your plan in a nutshell for rescuing Florida's property insurance market? And let's start with Mr. Arguello.
Well, this is just evidence, right? The symptoms that we're suffering with today are evidence of a great problem in Florida that we have, which is basically litigation going out of control, right? And so we need to come up with new ideas to be able to open the market, to make it fair for the people who want to come in. And for me, that includes people where people can group together and resolve their own problems, right? Because it's normally cheaper. We're paying for profit margins. Again, the insurance companies are very similar to the pharmaceutical companies. They always win, right? They never lose. There's never a situation. And if they think that they might lose, they just dump you, right? So this is not a fair situation for the American people. This does not protect the American family. At the same time, somebody else who's benefiting is the people who involve in litigation, perpetual litigation over this stuff. So we can't expect or demand that the insurance companies take losses. But what we can do is have a system which is open and fair and honest and transparent so that everyone's not trying to rip one another off. When that happens, maybe we can have a market that is created by free market forces that allow people to go pick and choose their people. You make up a profit margin selling the service, but at the same time, you're not just picking and choosing. I think that the insurance industry is very similar to the healthcare industry, where it's the American family that always loses at the end of the day. And that's not what our government is supposed to be doing, writing legislation to help the insurance industry survive. Create a good product and come here and survive, and we'll protect you from people who are trying to use the system. And you'll automatically you'll see free market forces win the day for the American people. That's my opinion. You should also allow large neighborhoods. I live in a neighborhood of 1,500 homes. We could reinsure ourselves and then get a reinsurer to deal with catastrophic things like hurricanes. So we just got to think outside the box and come to a conclusion that puts the American family first.
Thank you very much. Mr. Martinez, same question.
Hey, thank you for the question. I like to stay with the facts. 80% of the litigations happen here in Florida. So there is an issue there, right? Company, they're running away. And to many points, to many viewers and to many citizens, they understand that they need to fight these insurance companies. And absolutely, we should do that, right? For the right reasons. But we cannot say that 80% of all the litigation happening in the U.S. happening here just in Florida. But we also have to say that on average, Florida pays $6,000 for homeowner insurance versus $1,700 nationwide. So there's a lot of room of improvement there. Now let's talk about personally. I own small multifamilies. I own rental properties. And I tell you right now, I have a bill here with me where it went from $8,000 to $28,000. Yeah, I had not done a claim. So why not opening the floor of allowing more companies to come and compete here in Florida? And also giving them the safeguard, say, hey, we're also going to stop all these litigation as much as we can. So there's a reform that needs to be done on both sides, right? But let's also praise a little bit of Ron DeSantis, allowing this wind mitigation, right? Which I pay $200 right now, ain't going to save me $700 in a yearly basis. So what I want to come and do, open the gate. I want more people to come in and compete. And also letting them know that, yes, you're here. You are here as a company, as a private company, and yes, we want you to make money, and we're going to try to stop or reduce the amount of litigation that's happening because 80% is way too much. In the other hand, you need to reduce these prices. You have to be hand-on. As a business owner, I know what it is to take to reduce profit and reduce expenses. It's both. I'm not going to make that much money, but volume will speak volume, right? And I think when this insurance company come over to Florida, they will see that in the volume is the money, not necessarily in these big ticket prices that they're charging off right now. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. Definitely, that's my number one thing that I want to come in. How can we bring more competition in Florida and stopping all these humongous amount of litigation happening going on? And yes, we need to get away from the citizen insurance, right? That is by 14% right now. we need to bring it back to the private sector. For that, we need to bring more companies, because we don't also want to hold the state, right, at fault or liable for any claim coming up in the future. So absolutely, let's bring more companies.
So let me just take a minute and remind voters that while the Sentinel will be endorsing in this race, but we don't want you to just take our word for who you should choose or who you shouldn't. Both candidates have a great deal of presence on social media, websites. They're appearing in forums. They are talking to our news department. There's so much information out there on both of these candidates, thanks to their work to get the word out about what they believe. Take a good look at them, decide who best meets your own values, but be sure to vote on August 20th to give Republicans their best candidates to go forward to the November election. And with that, we would like to ask both of our candidates to make a brief closing statement, about 2 minutes, and we'll start with Mr. Martinez.
Again, thank you for the opportunity to address the voters, and again, thank you, John, for also being part of this meeting, right, and whatnot. But as a businessman and a family man, I always say, as a patriotic conservative, which I am, truly love this nation. They have done a lot to me. And at the initial previous conversation, I always say I came here when I was 10 years old, and look what I have done. I think I'm the American dream impersonator. I believe in this great nation and everything that I have provided to me. And it's time for me to give back, right? I do support through my business that my brother and I was able to build from scratch to now being a multinational, not a multi-million-dollar company at a national level. I think it's time for me to step up and give back. But also sometimes we're living in some special time, complicated times. And I want to bring my business sense and Central Florida's idea to Tallahassee, because I know that when they do regulations, I know how that can affect small businesses and families here in Central Florida. And I will be the one there to be able to catch up real quick if that regulation will affect the family, the livelihood, and the small business. I also understand that I'm the candidate that can flip this district red once and for all, to bring our conservative value to Central Florida, to give more power to the small business, to give more power to the parents for the educations, but most importantly, to give back to this community that have given me so much. So I humbly ask for your vote, right, to allow me to give back to the community that have given me so much. I will not disappoint you. I'm not a politician, and I will bring common sense to Tallahassee. That is a fact. And thank you again for the opportunity to address the board.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arguello.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. 4 years ago, you guys endorsed me and you said, you hope I didn't get any more speeding tickets. So I haven't gotten any more speeding tickets, just in case you guys are paying attention. So I've dedicated my life to serving this country. In 2003, I joined the Army. I went to Afghanistan twice. I served with 3 people who earned the Medal of Honor. It was a very kinetic time for me. I saw people sacrifice their lives, their limbs, their eyesight in this country. When I serve on the school board, I think about them. I serve the families of this community. I know what sacrifice is all about. I'm a former CEO. I gave up a job as a CEO to be a public servant. And immediately I realized that there's certain value. I have a law degree. I use that law degree to defend the American family. And these things are not a vanity project or an act of charity on behalf. These are my way of serving. I put my hand on that Bible and I swore that I would defend the Constitution of this country. I put my hand on the Bible again and swore that I would defend the Constitution of this state and country. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I'll do that for the rest of my life, God willing. And that's what I'm about. Priority is the American family. And I know that because I have 5 kids. I love my family. We are the American dream. as well. We have built a family out of scratch. Both of my parents came here with nothing, and my mother, rose up the ranks of a corporate America. And my father built a small business that was very successful. And I really know what this fight is about. And what we need is strong leaders who have proven themselves, that have track records, and that have been willing to put everything on the line for the American community. And that's me. I'm the only one in Osceola County who can say that with any degree of honesty. So I fight for the American family, and I'll continue to do that. And if you allow me to, I'll do that after I win the election on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you both. And we wish you both the best of luck. And we will look forward to seeing what happens on August 20th.